Good evening. It's the fan phone-in 24 hours earlier than we would usually have it, but hey, we've lost our unbeaten streak at home, and in a dire way. I said it in my post-match reaction. The dam has broken, for a better lack of a word. Essentially, the home form was the only thing keeping everything intact, and the scenes of full time were incredibly telling. Before I introduce my co-host, I'm just going to read through, refresh people as to what was said after our relegation was confirmed from the Championship. So these notes were attributed to David Wilkinson, but they were not actually written by him. After the long weekend of deep reflection as chairman and custodian of our club, I wanted to express the board's collective frustration, anger and disappointment at how the season has ended with our relegation to League One. It was not the outcome any of us envisioned at the start of the season after the heights we have scaled in our 17 years together. We have seen all the ups and downs, and as bad as Saturday seems right now, there have been darker days from which we fought back and went on to make history. We know that won't count for much in the moment, while relegation feels so raw to us all. This weekend has hurt us like no other. We are custodians of our club, but supporters first, who care passionately about our footballing fortunes and misfortunes. We are all accountable and recognise that errors have been made off the pitch, just as they have been on it. To contribute to that end result, we are all truly sorry for the season has finished as it is. The in-depth analysis started before relegation was confirmed. As individuals and as a club, we set about working harder and more effectively to build on the run of form that before Saturday's defeat had put us in with such a chance of survival. All we can promise at this moment is that we will review, regroup and rebuild. Indeed, this has started. We must recover the spirit that was so familiar to us on our rise, and we'll use this now as a catalyst for a renewed determination, focused to achieve one objective. Lengthy discussions have already taken place with Matt and his staff, the former manager, and his staff regarding next season, designed to reshape our squad into a proper Luton Town team we can be truly proud to watch next season. No stone will go unturned as we review and prepare for the 25-26 season, hopefully with fresh optimism and renewed vigour. Finally, we wish to thank you all for all the support over this season. Yada, yada, yada. David. Load of bollocks. With me, as always, it's my co-host, Mark Ryman. How are we getting on, Mark? Oh, wait, hang on, Ryman. Everyone's like, they can't hear you. They can't hear you. So I'm restarting the capture. There you go. You should be heard now.
Okay.
There we go.
Yeah. Hi, everybody.
Yeah, start again. Start again from the beginning.
You want me to say all that again?
Rewind.
I'm just naming all the things I'd rather do than go to Kenilworth Road on Tuesday night to watch us losing the trophy. Including walking the dog, walking around the park, talking to a cat, talking to a pigeon, watching the cricket, watching the rugby, watching the golf, painting the walls, watching it fucking dry, any of that other than sit there and watch the same old dross over and over again. It was the implosion that we all saw coming, right? Apart from maybe Jack Wilshere, who said not less than 3 days ago, point your anger at me, and then tells fans to shut their fucking mouth at the end of the game, which, by the way, if you didn't see it, I would recommend you watch. I think it's 40 seconds into Deggy's post online. You can clearly see Jack Wilshere saying the same thing while being pulled away by 18-year-old lonely success story. Lawrence, who hasn't seen the pitch for, I don't know, 4 games, 5 games, etc.
It's funny because
Um,
last game he did say, "Don't put it on the players, put it on me."
exactly. Put it on me, but not like that. And look, listen, I don't know what was said to him, and I'm not excusing it. So, if people have said something personal and offensive to him, then they shouldn't have done, and they should be held to account for it. So I'm not defending that. However, you are the manager of a football club. You're not the player anymore. You need to be above that. And if you can't be, for me, that's time ticking at that point, right? Look, I've defended Jack Wilshere on here many times and said that I wanted his appointment. I thought him and Chris Powell were a really good combination, and the fact that he's a young and inexperienced manager. And I've also said, and we'll talk about this, that the problem goes way beyond him, which all remains to be true. However, if you continuously show faith in players like Naismith immediately, as soon as they become fit, when it's clear that they just don't have what it takes anymore for various reasons. It also clearly has an attitude problem with the fans as well. Another player that was calling fans out at the end of the game. If you continue to make poor decisions in selection and during the game, if you put Nigel Longwick on for the last 5 minutes
And not Mengi.
and make it a back five, yeah, exactly, and not Mengi, who's how many times he saved us with a last-ditch tackle this season, regardless. If you basically score a goal from your one bit of good play and then decide that that's enough, that'll do, lad. 14 minutes in, game done, right? Then I'm sorry, but you deserve some of the stick, quite a lot of it. Not just him, the rest of his coaching team as well. People rightly demonstrated their anger. And look, I've seen people online moaning at people booing after the game. There is no issue with people booing after the game. I don't particularly like people booing during the game. I get people's frustrations, though, that we're passing it sideways and backwards incessantly. I don't necessarily think it helps, and I wouldn't boo during the game, but don't have a pop at people booing during the game. I think it's no different to people inanely clapping at the end of the game after that performance. I don't know how you can have a go at one and not the other. I'm not saying either, look, neither of those things are the problem at our football club, right? So if you're on Twitter or X or whatever it's called, having a moan at fans for booing or clapping, they're not the problem. Either of those two are not the problem. Stop stop differentiating your anger, stop diffusing it out and focusing it on the people whose fault this is, clearly. All right, infighting just disperses it when it needs to be focused more on the people to blame. Right, my rant's over for now at least, but the reason why we did this early, right, wasn't just for us to have a rant. It's so people can get involved. I've already seen there's like 100 comments already. I don't know whether you want to get started on a few of them, Ollie.
Yeah, let's get some comments in before
let's get some comments. But also people call in as well, right?
So
because I want to hear your voice too.
Yeah, we've already got people in the green room. If you want to get involved, I put the call link in it's in the description. It's also in the chat section. So hop on over to the Discord, get involved. I can see comments here. Wilshere offering fans out should be the end of him. Goes against what the club stands for, surely. Look, it's a bit of fight. I don't mind. I don't mind that. But I see a comment here. What does Chris Powell actually do from Barry Hatter? And to be honest, Chris Powell, 40 years in football, that BBC interview with him, why isn't Chris Powell doing more? Chris Powell should definitely be doing more right now and getting involved and guiding Jack, not just, be the one to do the silly dances, when we win and the fist pumps.
Yes.
Like he needs to actually be properly involved, guiding Jack. That's why he's there. Ultimately, the change needs to be. Well, we can't change manager again, but maybe Chris Powell can sort of take more of a firm hands on it. Like, do you remember when Joe Kinnear came in as like technical director, and then he took charge over from Lil Facillo? Do you remember that? Yeah, sort of like that, because Joe Kinnear had been in the game for 40 years at that point, I think, as player and manager. And Chris Powell he's managed before, he's played, he's coached. He knows. He should be more accountable. A lot of this is on Chris Powell as well. As well as the board and the players. Like there is no one that is absent from blame here. And I'll maintain my same line that Gary Sweet has to step aside. Because this can't be good for him either. Like thousands of people or hundreds of people, whoever was left in the stadium, like baying for his blood, can't be good for him mentally. I'm just turning off my heaters. So it's probably a good time for him to step aside, and the club, the board, can get in a proper CEO, like a footballing CEO, and Gary can focus on other things. So that's my Gary Sweet rhetoric out the way. Honestly, for what he did for the club all through those years, 17 years, 18 years, I've worshipped him. I have absolutely worshipped the guy. But I can't see someone failing so significantly at their job, relegations, and putting together a recruitment team the way it is. And hey, well, you said it in the phone-in. No, in the midweek catch-up, Ryman. If you went in like drunk and all your kids failed in your class, yeah, you'd be fired.
I didn't give examples of what.
Okay.
Yeah,
exactly.
Exactly.
If you sucked,
I don't want this cut up.
If you sucked at your job, if I sucked at my job, we would be fired. You'd be on a, because he is an employee of the club after all.
Yeah, exactly. I think people forget that, and you make the point constantly on here that he is an employee of the club. Essentially, he has 3 shares in the club. He isn't the owner of the club.
He's the chief executive.
Exactly that. And look, chief executives in football are not the same as owners. They come and they go. In every other club they do. And as you said, you're judged on your current form. You're judged on how you do now. You can't use, what you've done in the past or what might happen in the future as a reason for you to stay there. I just quickly back to what you said. Look, I disagree about Jack Wilshere thing. I think there's a difference between showing fight. If he wanted to show fight, you mentioned it. He had 97 minutes to demonstrate a bit of bloody fight. It's on the pitch that we want to see that, not just capitulate to one of the worst teams in League One with the lowest budget. It's pathetic. Right? If you want to show fight, show it there, rather than calling out an 18, 19-year-old kid in the enclosure. For me, that is tantamount to straight away being dismissed from the club. I don't know how you can come back from that. That would be my argument. You look at the opposite, the difference between him and say what John Still did. When John Still was called out by a fan, what did he do? He brought them on the pitch, made them part of the huddle. Jack Wilshere called him out for a fight in the car park. That is the poles apart we're talking about. You can't fix the toxicity at the club by feeding it. That's my argument there.
So Super Mickey Chow calls it another Richard Money moments.
Yeah, exactly. That's what it reminded me of. That's exactly what it reminded me of, that point. Now, look, again, I'm not justifying what was said to him because I don't know what was said to him. Cannot do that.
No, but it does go both ways at the same time.
Of course
I think when he said, blame me, not the players, he was probably saying you can criticize me, don't call me the C word.
Yeah.
And there are kids around as well. I saw a comment where someone said oh, this all happened in front of me and my grandkid. The fans have to respect the people on the pitch as well. It's all very, don't go nuts with abuse. Anything you say has to be reasoned and respectful to some degree. You can, get your point across constructively, not to be oh, you're a wanker, like that.
Yeah. Agree.
Because then he has every right to go back on that.
Listen, I agree with everything that you just said. Fans don't have the right to say that stuff to players or staff. You're the manager. For me, it's different. You just walk off at that point. I think there are things that cross the line that you should call out maybe, but you do it in the right way. You do it in the presser afterwards. You don't do it by calling fans out in that way. I'm sorry, not as the manager, because to what end? Where's that? Where's that going to lead? That would be my argument. I am not justifying what was said to him. I don't know, and I'm with you on that completely. And the fan who said it, you know, may well have had it coming. For me, though, as a manager, it's just a really poor look. It really is.
Yeah, no, it's the same reason players and managers aren't allowed to like climb into the stadium.
Yeah.
Exactly. So many comments, like some people saying it's time for Jack Wilshere to go. They're not going to get rid of him, and I just think Chris Powell needs to sort of take the reins personally. If we're going to have any chance, well,
you've already said that
we'll see what he's about. Like he needs to take the responsibility. Someone needs to take responsibility.
I think it's a real shame.
I just want to see the two of them communicate during a game. I don't see them both communicate.
Yeah.
Like one sitting down. He talks a lot to Tim Corcoran, who's there watching the old monitor. DMC123. Sweet could drive the stadium side of things, sporting director for the football side. I don't know. I feel he's just got to step away from all of it, you know, and just hire people to. Well, the board need to hire people to oversee both the specific projects. You know, the football club, the stadium project. Here's one. Phil Clark. Sacking Jack solves nothing, as Gary will be recruiting his replacement. Yeah, and a lot of the time as well, Gary just gets who Gary wants. You know, it's not a board decision. Right. Interestingly, one of the people we have waiting in the green room is. Can you see this? Pete, you got to wait, mate. We got the man himself here.
Really. We'll find out.
Yeah. Right. Good evening. I don't know what your name is. Well, what's your name? I reckon he's gone camera shy.
Oh,
yeah.
That's a shame.
Very, very intrigued as to who answers this. Hello. Who is this?
I'll just.
I'll get some more comments until this person comes in.
Yeah, I'm not surprised they're not saying anything. I was going to say, look, lots of people saying what you said. In an ideal world, sack Wilshere, give Powell to the end of the season. If there are improvements, then keep him on. If not, look to build a new managerial team for the next season after this one ends.
The obvious one is Sheehan and McCormack. That's the obvious one.
McCormack's just walked away from Leighton Orient.
Exactly. You can get what's his name as well. Get Chris Cohen back in.
Yeah.
Assemble the dream team minus Nathan.
Is Chris Cohen still at Lincoln? Was he at Lincoln?
I have no idea where Chris Cohen is.
I think he went to Lincoln as well. But look, I think but everyone's right. The problem doesn't. We know the problem's not just the manager. Regardless, I mean, listen, it's been a really bad week for Jack Wilshere. It has been a horrendous 3 games, 7 days for Jack Wilshere, and for a lot of people like myself, who where he still had quite a lot of credit in the bank, that's dropped. But we all know, regardless of whether you think Jack Wilshere should stay or go, but we all know that the issue runs deeper than that, you know. And what changes? For me, nothing changes. I said this to you about Nathan Jones, and I for one don't think he's coming anywhere near this. But if he was just theoretically to come back, I don't see him turning it around. So this is the problem. Is that we all know that the issues run far deeper than it. There's so many people sort of saying similar things. Mr. Dazaster, sorry if I didn't say that correctly. We play shit against shit. Yeah, that's absolutely right. We play half decent when we play against decent. Well, at home, I agree with you, not away. We need to stop matching teams up and start imposing ourselves on the game. Leave players up when defending set pieces. 100%. How many shots on target today? 2. 2 shots on target, right? Our XG, I know XG isn't everything, Gary, 0.47 versus their 0.64. You know, look, and Jack, moaned about the decision, which I completely think was a horrendous referee, and I mentioned this in our group chat. Their goalkeeper for me
Yeah.
absolutely should have been sent off. However,
It was
that happened
terrible
on what,
refereeing. I
39.
completely forgot to even say any of that in my post match because I was just so
Yeah,
livid with
yeah, exactly.
with
Because everything, but
the
that's the
equaliser.
point. Because there was 60 minutes of football after that point, right? We were all pissed off with the decision, but that shouldn't. We were 1-0 up at that point and still had control of a football match. That isn't the reason that we drew the game. That we drew the game because we did exactly what we did against Blackpool. The difference being we scored with about 10 minutes to go against Blackpool, whereas we scored with 10 minutes gone in this game. Everything else was exactly the same. Um, and we just decided to stop playing football. Yeah,
So I watched
and
this
it's
one. I watched this one on TV because I couldn't go today. Um, and one thing I noticed after we scored, and it's something I've noticed as well from going to the games. You know, I've been to every home game this season, other than Wigan and Cardiff earlier on this season. When we score, it's a very muted celebration. I think I said it on the midweek catch up. The best celebrations that have been there all season was when we made it 2-2 against Lincoln. That was the best celebration. Otherwise, everyone's like, you know, when you go up, especially go up after 13 minutes in the game, everyone's like, ooh, I don't know. I don't know how it's going to go. I don't feel good about this. So, yeah. And today you could really see it. It's just people clapping. No scenes. No one's absolutely losing it because everyone knows there's no point. You know.
13 minutes gone. We all knew what was coming next, didn't we?
Yeah.
That was the problem, you know. And it's so frustrating because that move was a great move, and it was so good to see. You know, I sarcastically put on our group chat goal machine as soon as he scored, mainly just to wind you up because it's funny. But you know, look, regardless, it was a really good move. Great pass by JJ. And well finished for a change, and you know,
Yeah.
really well composed finish. We set ourselves up because I did think the only way we're going to do really well in this game is if we score early on. It means they can't sit back, they'll leave gaps in behind, and we can exploit it. We did everything, you know, we did everything right there. You know, we gave ourselves the perfect opportunity. So just to say that it's, you know, the fans and the negative atmosphere at home, you know, you're right to say that we, you know, no one celebrated wildly, but after that, fans were on board. You had every opportunity then to go on and impact the game.
We have backed the
Just
team
didn't happen.
every single time. Like a senior player comes out and say, "We need you. We need you." We come out. We've given them plenty of carrots. We also give them a lot of stick, but it's rightly deserved stick.
Wait, I mean, this is
We
yeah,
give them plenty of carrot. We give them plenty of encouragement. When they come out, we make noise every single time, and then we're served up the same old shit every single time.
yeah. Well, the thing is that I'm sure you saw Jack Wilshere's post match. I think it was Three Counties that did the club one as well at Simon
Yeah,
Oxley.
I listened to it. Yeah.
Yeah. So he talked about the idea that he understands the fans are frustrated because we've been relegated from the Premier League and then relegated from the Championship and they expect better. The fans don't expect to win every game of football.
Just
They
want to see
don't.
a
No,
performance, right?
nobody. Exactly. We're at home against third bottom in the league and we've had 2 shots on target. In no world is that good enough. In no world saying you tried hard, which I didn't see, by the way. I didn't see the effort that keeps being spoken about by Jack Wilshere. Home and away, he says it all the time. We're trying, we're trying. Because it doesn't, I don't see that. I don't. I don't see the effort. I don't see the
Only
last
two
ditch tackles.
moments today as well. Only two
Yeah,
moments.
well, that's the thing. I just don't see it. I see a team that gives up far too quickly, that backs off the people they're supposed to be marking, that it ends up allowing teams to press us, etc. I don't see that effort. But that isn't, Luton fans don't expect to roll Burton over, but they do expect to see at least a little bit of the attacking football that you would expect any team to play at home. Now, I would wager that there aren't many teams this season that have had a lower level of XG and shots on target against Burton Albion at home. I mean, considering where they are in the league, I don't think that's an unfair leap. I would imagine we're right near the bottom of the pile of the entire league there. including those in the bottom rungs of the league as well. So our expectations are not to be, whatever, doing a Cardiff, but I mean, what we're served up is inexcusable. It's absolutely inexcusable.
I just had a look at XG actually. I'm surprised at how high we are up in expected goals, even though it's an absolute nonsense stat. We're 10th.
We've had all the penalties. We've had more penalties.
Oh yeah, we've had 11 penalties. Like,
there you go.
In cups and this as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that stacks up the XG.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, didn't even think about that. Yeah. Oh, nightmare.
It's shocking.
Yeah, but remember, Burton, Luton Town fan says, remember Burton had picked up just 2 points in their last 7 away games before today. Yeah. Well, Dr. Luton will see you now. Yeah. I should have trademarked that saying, because everyone's saying it now. That on the grass, in a piss.
What happened to Walsh? I thought he was going to.
Oh, he's on the grass, mate.
What happened to Al Hamidi?
Oh,
well, by the way.
So I have a theory about Al Hamidi. So notice how Gideon Kodua was announced 3 days after the January window closed. I reckon we didn't make his loan permanent in time. So I think he's still registered as a loan player. Hence, we can only have 5 loanees in a squad at once.
Right. Okay.
Therefore, Al Hamidi had to miss out today.
Right.
That's is my theory, and that is why Lawrence has missed out for the last few games, and that's why. Yeah, can you imagine? Can you imagine?
Yeah, no, that does back up.
Occam's razor. The simplest solution is probably the most obvious and likely. And I've been right about a few things, where I've speculated, and it's reasoned speculation. I'm not just plucking it out of the ether.
No, it makes sense.
Yeah, so some would say I have an analytical background or a forensic background. Hey, I guess that's research, isn't it? Scientific research. Right. Should we get a caller in?
Let's get Pete in.
Yeah, I'm gonna put.
I don't know what happened to Jack Wilshere, unfortunately.
Oh yeah, that's a real shame, isn't it?
Yeah,
we had Super Jack Wilshere in the green room, and he's gone.
He's gone.
Let's
get Pete in. Oh, evening, Pete.
Yeah, how you doing, guys?
Yeah, doing all right. Doing all right.
Just another run-of-the-mill week, really, isn't it? It's a day.
Get used to them, don't you?
Prince PDF file Andrew is arrested, and Luton are utter turd in a game of football. Nothing really changes. I mean, listen, I'm going to speak on behalf of the fans here, and bear with me, because I'm 62. My first game was in 1972. When I think of all the great times I've had at that ground and all the great players I've seen at Luton, I don't feel disappointment anymore. It's just turned into pure anger. Anger at the way the club is being run, anger at the board, anger at the players, anger at the manager, anger at the poxy green kit. I could go on and on and on. 2 years ago, Gary Sweet was being hailed as the Messiah for leading us into the promised land. Roll on 2 years, and he's probably now the most hated man in Luton. I mean, today was a complete embarrassment. Luton Town wasting time for 45 minutes to cling on to a 1-0 win at home. From the first minute, you could see how it was going to play out. When the ball got knocked back to Naismith and he tried a long diag and it went straight out of play. How on earth has he been preferred to Mengi? I mean, even Harry the Hatter's given up. He used to run over to the away fans and give them a bit of stick. And now he just walks around the perimeter of the pitch. There's a complete lack of any atmosphere at the ground. And, the Naismith and Wilshere thing at the end of the game, that's the club captain and the manager. I've supported this club through thick and thin, good times and bad. And the one thing that has remained constant is the fans' loyalty to the badge. Not these overpaid players that come and go, not the board of directors, but the fucking badge. Naismith's got a short memory as well, because wasn't he the player that fucked off to Bristol City because he could get more money? You know, I'm so angry about it. The fans have got every right to boo and show their emotions, as most of them have supported the club since they were born. Their fathers probably supported the club, their grandfathers. So if we want to boo and show our displeasure at the shit that's being served up at the moment, I think we've got every right to. You can't just silence the fans because you don't like it, what you're hearing. It doesn't work like that. We'll applaud them when they're doing well, but when it's shit like it is now, then we've got every right to boo. And you know what? Some of my mates have been saying, "Well, stop going if it's upsetting you so much." But I can't. It's in my DNA. I love this club, and it's tearing me apart. And the 10,000 fans that go every week because we care so much. The players will come and go, but the fans, we're going to be there forever. And it's just, you know, if any of the club are listening to this now, here's a proposition. I'll drive to the Port Vale game and you can get me in the changing room 5 minutes before the game and I'll tell them what it means to play for this club, what it means to the fans, how much history and pride there is on pulling that shirt on, and how they're so lucky and fortunate to play for such a great club. We've got a magnificent fan base. I don't think that message is getting across. Wilshere is so focused on this crap, tippy-tappy football that he's completely misreading the room on how to inject some passion and desire into the team. All he's good at is chewing fucking chewing gum, isn't it? I mean, he does that well. It's just ridiculous. I mean, the programme notes were highlighting the word togetherness, but where's the togetherness? There isn't any. The board remains silent about Power Court. I'm hearing on the grapevine as well, although it's not confirmed, that there's another 6-month delay on that now because they put the piling rig in the wrong place. It's a complete mess. And it angers me that the club I've poured my whole life into is being pulled apart by these wankers at the top making decisions. You know, David Priest and Les Seeley would be turning in their graves at the state of this club at the moment. I mean, they should sit them all down on Monday and they should all watch that Glenn Ray video about, you know, what it's like to play for this club. But you can't even watch that now on the Luton Town site because that's all locked down. It's an absolute shit show. I mean, Jack Wilshere is doing a talk at the university on Wednesday night. I mean, what's he going to do? Stand up for an hour and chew gum? Because he's got nothing constructive to say. Absolutely nothing. I'm so angry about it, lads. So angry.
Brilliant. Well said,
Well
Pete.
said.
Absolutely. Couldn't have said it better. And do you know what? You mentioned, you know, how long you've been following the club for. Ollie and I have been following since the early 90s or mid 90s, right? And so often online, I keep seeing this thing about, oh, it's just the negative lot that have only been supporting the club since, you know, we've been in the Championship or the Premier League, etc. And it's not. Our fan base, and, you know, we say this, you know, this isn't meant in a detrimental way at all, but our fan base that go to Kenilworth Road are generally older people, you know, 40 and above, like us, okay, who've been watching and supporting the club through, you know, you ask any generation, and every generation has seen the club go through horrendous times. We've all seen it. You know, none of us are watching, none of us are Luton supporters who've only seen the good times and all of the excuses that other people give. We've all seen the club go through various ups and downs, you know, including, of course, the point at which 2020 came in. But at no point in our history have we had the opportunity that we've had and squandered it so badly, so ruthlessly, as 2020 and the club have done over the last 3 years or so, regardless of situation. And that's where the frustration is, right?
It's breaking my heart seeing it.
Yeah.
It really is breaking my heart. I mean, you can see how frail we are as a team as well when Palmer didn't come out for the second half because we had absolutely no one on the pitch who could control the football with their first touch, play with their head up, set up attacks, and subsequently we spent the whole of the second half camped in our own half. I mean, that's Luton Town at home, and we're camped in our own half, trying to waste time. I mean, this goal kick bullshit with Naismith standing next to Keeley and trying to do this short goal kick. Jesus Christ, just pump it up the park. do something different, because it is killing us as fans, absolutely killing us. You know, I don't, you know, these 3 games were targeted, obviously, for 9 points. And we've got 1 point, 1 poxy point out of 6. You know, it's absolutely abysmal. And it ain't good enough. It just ain't good enough.
Well, yeah, like 9 points were probably should have been the minimum. You know, you're playing 3 teams in the bottom 7. I think, before the first ball was kicked, I think all 3 of them were in the bottom 4. And we should be imposing. We should be imposing ourselves. The thing about all the money that we have received, we haven't sold players well. We haven't reinvested the money that we have sold players for well, and the money that we've spent. If you look at the top fees spent and the players brought in, none of them have really affected us in a way that a Andre Gray did, or Jack Stacey did. No one's had that type of effect. A Danny Hilton or a James Collins, or I could list loads of players that have had massive impacts, like Andy Drury. Sorry. And that's the thing, but that's down to the recruitment. But there's so many other reasons for it. I liken all the money we've received to, you remember that lottery lout, the guy that was called the lottery lout, won the lottery, won the big jackpot.
Racing cars in his back garden.
Tiger pits, fighting pits, swimming pools, fields with Nutella, stuff like that. We've literally squandered every single penny. And yes, I understand a lot has been diverted to Power Court, but that project has spiraled. The cost for that project has spiraled, but there are aspects of that project as well where money has been wasted. And I don't know. I can't comment about the piling rig being placed in the wrong place. I simply don't know. But if that
the singular piling rig,
maybe we can borrow one from the stage. Like if that is the case, and the piling rig has been piling in the wrong place, that is a supreme fuck up.
Well, it's unconfirmed, but yeah, I mean,
yeah, it's unconfirmed. That's fine, but essentially, money has been wasted, squandered on that project, chasing things that won't happen physically.
But it's like I said the other week, guys. The fans live in the now. The stadium is the future. It's what's happening right now, and they are destroying this football club. 3 times today, the announcer was banging on about LGBTQ or whatever it is, and how discrimination won't be tolerated. But what about the blatant discrimination from the board to the paying fans? They don't give a toss about the fans at the moment. Not a toss.
Yeah.
We're just the...
and we've got to be the singular most important people at that football club, because we are going to be supporting them for the next 10 years, 20 years. Our kids will be supporting the club. These fuckers will come and go, but the fans will be there forever.
I mean, without the fans, Power Court project becomes Darlington FC, doesn't it? Or MK Dons, as Ollie said last time. Because the only way that project is a success and makes us, whatever Gary Sweet said, mid-table championship or upper table championship. I can't remember what he said in terms of money making. Well, it's only going to make money if people go through the turnstiles. Right, that is the only way that project's going to make money, and they ain't going to go through the turnstiles. Certainly not 25,000 of them.
No, it doesn't make money from fans going there. The money's made from the residential development. That is where the money's made.
No, the money's made for them, for that, or whoever has the shares in that.
Yeah.
But the money for the club, the sustainability for the club, comes from getting fans through the door. Just look at any club.
Oh yeah, that's how you go to the next level. You're right. Exactly. That's how you get to the next level. That is why Sunderland can compete in the Premier League right now, because they've got a 45,000 seater stadium, bums in seats, and it increases your revenue. Yes.
just one thing really quickly to go back on. Sorry to go back quickly, but Ollie, you mentioned about recruitment, and we've all agreed that recruitment has been poor pretty much every transfer window since that January. But I would argue this, that there are players that had the potential to make the impact that you'd mentioned previously, like your Andre Grays. But I don't know what we do to these players. But you know, Casey Palmer being perfect point. I thought he was dreadful for the first 45 minutes. He came off, he was yellow carded, and he was awful.
I will play devil's advocate on that. I noticed he was being man marked throughout the game, which is to be expected because we're only going to play through Casey Palmer. So they knew, okay, we'll put a man on him. As soon as that man goes, okay, they were pointing, pick him up. They did their homework.
Okay, they did.
Who would you rather have had playing for you up front today?
Cole.
They're two strikers.
Okay.
Or as. I mean, it's just pathetic. The recruitment has been shit.
I don't disagree, but all I would say is that we've had players that have come in and made a positive impact, like Casey Palmer, for example, who very quickly, but once they're part of this squad, seem to lose all of their ability on the ball and their confidence. Right, within 2 or 3 games.
They go on and they be successes elsewhere.
And then they go somewhere else, like Lasse Nordas.
He scored against PSV today.
Here's a kick against PSV, yeah. Great goal. But we all watched him play for us. You and I differed slightly on there, although I couldn't understand why he was being put in, so low down in the pecking order. But he looked like he was, he'd just come from playing Sunday League.
Well, so did Enoch Shawomni. So did Shawomni.
He was never given a chance, was he?
Yeah,
he was never given a chance.
I wouldn't disagree. However, every time I'd seen him on the ball, I didn't think he didn't look like, all I'm arguing is he didn't look like the player he now is, currently playing for his current team. And neither did Ali, and neither did all of these other players. My point is that these players coming into our club, it's not just the recruitment's been poor. When we've highlighted and got players in that actually do have potential, then they lose it as well. I wouldn't be surprised if by the end of the season, Jake Richards is a shell of the player that he was. Because for me, at some points this season, he's been the first name on the team sheet. Gideon Kajua, another one. Poor again today.
Nordas has gone to this club and they've said, you are our number 9. Irrespective of what happens, you are our number 9. We're excited to have you here. And that's the way you manage players. Look at Venables when he told Shearer that he was his England number 9. He hadn't scored for about 10 games, but he stuck with him and he come good. And if we'd have said to Nordas, look, you've got 10, you're playing for the next 10 games. I mean, what a lift that'd have give the lad, And it
didn't help that he arrived. It didn't help that he arrived, and he needed 3 months to get match fit. Sort of like Severe Sandal.
No. Yeah, it didn't. But, I've managed teams, successful teams, and some players you have to give them a kick up the arse, and some players you put an arm around and tell them they're the best player at the club. And, if you do it the right way, the players will run through brick walls for you. But Wilshere just doesn't seem to have that in it. He should never have been appointed. He's a 34-year-old yob who's obviously was a good player, hasn't really got any idea what it's like to manage at League One. He's been thrown in at the deep end and he ain't good enough. And Sweet should never have appointed him. You hear when you talk to people at the club, well, nobody else was applying for it. That's utter bollocks.
No, I asked Jack about it. I said, did you apply or were you sought out? And he said, I was sought out.
Do you know what? I went to the Derek Chisora Tyson Fury fight a few years ago and I met Ian Holloway and I was chatting to him at the time. And he told me that he applied for the Luton Town job before Edwards got it, and he didn't even get a reply.
Yeah.
Didn't even get a reply.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah, listen, I'm not disagreeing with any of the points that you're making, and I think, Pete, you're right about giving players a chance. I'm certainly not disagreeing with that. I just find it interesting that all the players, Woodrow scored today, Pepple scored today, Joe Taylor scored today once or twice I think, as well. These players, it seems to be it's consistently the case. And it's not just with Jack Wilshere, right? This is the case under Bloomfield as well, that we had players that weren't performing for us. I mean, it's just clearly, there's clearly that toxicity at the club that comes down. You mentioned already, I mean, we've got our captain calling players out. Players out. It'd be good if he was calling players out. A captain calling fans out at the end of the game as well.
That was disgraceful.
It's disgraceful, especially considering that the guy doesn't show that level of passion on the pitch either. You know, all he wants to do is a 60-yard diagonal pass. That is all he's interested in. He just wants to play that one ball over and over and over again. And somehow he just walks straight into the team as a result. But, you know, I think that it's becoming, all I would say is to Pete as well, you know, that I thought Jack Wilshere was a decent appointment. I didn't mind it, you know, but my argument is becoming less and less easy to make. It's becoming impossible, in fact, to make an argument against anybody that turns around and says, yeah, bloke's not good enough and he's out of his depth.
Now is the time to do it. If you're going to do it, look, we're not going up. Let's get a bloke in who understands the league, can just, you know, he's got 12 or 15 games to look at what he's got, and then we can make a concerted effort next season to go again. But I think if you hang around with Wilshere now, you ain't going to get anything different. You're going to get the same crap, tippy-tappy Arsenal football in League One, playing it out from the back, shitty goal kicks, knocking it to the goalkeeper, knocking it to the fullback, losing possession in the centre of the park. I mean, how many times did we lose possession today? I lost count. I just lost count. And, you know, if you keep doing the same things, you're going to get the same results. And I'm telling you now, he is not ready to manage at League One level. And if we stick with him, you're going to get the same result. We'll be here again next year talking exactly the same. Because remember, next year, we're not going to have a pot to piss in. So you're not even going to get the level of players that you've got now next year. So God only knows where we'll be next year.
Yeah, just wait until the recruitment.
Remember,
yeah.
These are all that we got. We got rid of the players that don't want to play for us. These are the best growth. These are the ones that are desperate to play for us, apparently.
And Chris Powell don't want the job. He don't want to put his head on the chopping block. I mean, Christ, he never gets off his arse during the game, so he's not going to want to take over.
He was specifically headhunted for this role as well.
It's gonna damage his CV and his reputation. He probably wants to distance himself from it.
Yeah, everyone's allowed to blip.
To the core. It is rotten to the core.
It is. Right, Pete, thank you very much. We'll get our next caller in. We'll see you on the next one, mate.
Thanks, Pete.
Yeah, on again, guys.
See ya.
Right. Some comments before we get the next person in. Lots of comments. An interesting one about I saw one about when the ball went, oh god, there's so many. I seem to have lost it. Essentially, the thing was, if they were tracking Casey Palmer, why didn't we exploit the space that was left there? But we did. That's exactly what we did. We did exploit the space. It was that was actually how the first goal was scored. That's how our goal was scored, where we exploited the space. Yeah.
Yeah, but the thing with Casey Palmer is, I'm going to play devil's advocate with you, is that the reason why we signed him on loan is he's a player that can play in tight spaces and make the right decision. So if your argument is he was man-marked, well, then he's not a player that can do what he's advertised to do. Because in the first two games, he was marked then. He had players on him. He turned in tight spaces. Everyone was calling him the next Ross Barkley because he was doing that and passing it forward. That wasn't the player that I saw today.
He was, the player I saw against. If I may retort, he was meant to be playing a 10, with 4 or 5 players defending the goal. He wasn't meant to be the last line of defence before Cal Naismith and Mads Anderson. That's the thing. Like, the ball was going straight to him from defence or sometimes from Keeley. Whereas, when we signed him, we all thought, oh, great, he's a 10. He's going to be playing, essentially linking up and supplying a striker. So we can have a striker that actually stays up there. But he turned out to be all right in that Bradford game, and now, like, just...
He's brilliant.
Yeah, but now he's having, you know, two men on him at times, you know, because essentially if you win the ball off Casey Palmer, or, you know, you intercept it as the ball's coming to him, because, like, come on, let's look at some of the passes that Mads Andersen was doing today. There were some times when Mads Andersen just passed straight to the opposition at times. He's done that quite a few times over the last couple of games. If the pass is slightly wrong, you're in, and Palmer can't do anything about it.
Yeah, okay, but I wouldn't necessarily disagree with that. That's on Wilshire's tactics and everything else. And we've mentioned this before, that you don't get Mads Andersen to try and play that football, because that is not playing to his limited strength capacity, is it? Mm-hmm. If you want to do that, then you've got the wrong central defenders to do it with. But yeah, I mean, look, all I'm arguing is that, you know, regardless, the performance of Casey Palmer, oh, there he is, picture of him, against Huddersfield, against Bradford, etc., was poles apart from the last three games. And yes, you might argue that there are more men on him, but I just don't think it's debate. It's Clark. He was a bit better today, but last two games, we all know how good he can be. Gideon, Kajua today, I thought was pretty poor as well. You know, you can pick quite a few of them.
I think Saville had a good game.
Saville was okay. He screened the back four better.
Yeah.
I thought Morris at least tried and to beat his man and was successful a couple of times. I thought Naki Wells had a good game. It wasn't just a goal. He should have caused their goalkeeper to be sent off, and he at least put pressure on their defence as well.
Yeah, he actually played as a striker. Like, actually, you know, he obviously dropped a little bit for parts of the game, but he ultimately played as a striker, a focal point of attack. He's a bit weak, though. He does bounce off defenders in this league quite a bit.
He is. But, you know, for the vast majority of the game, players that we know can be a lot better just are not doing it.
Yeah.
They're not. Right, anyway.
Yeah, we got our next caller in.
Let's get Simon on. All right, mate.
Good evening.
Hello, gentlemen. How are you?
Yeah, you know.
Great. Loving life. Brilliant. Do you know what? I was thinking, well, if the football's shit, at least the Six Nations is on. If anyone else watches the rugby, that's been thoroughly depressing as well. So... yeah, couldn't even turn that on to get distracted.
It's just inescapable. It's a mess. It's just a mess, top to bottom. The scenes at the end of the game were even more depressing. Jack Wilshere, I'm just going to say, if you say things like the fans should direct their anger at me, you then can't get angry at the fans when they do exactly that. You can't have it both ways. Some very odd comments from Naismith in the post-match interview about how great the fans were after offering one out from all accounts. It's just a mess. It's such a mess.
That was a weird one. I haven't seen Naismith's post-match. I have to watch that.
Naismith was very much we get it, it's rubbish, and you know, we need to be better, etc. You know, the normal stuff. But yeah, I mean, that compared to what he was saying to fans directly 10 minutes previous, as Si just said, it's slightly contradictory. He's trying to save face, I imagine, through a media trained interview after he's just demonstrated a little bit of who he actually is to the fans 10 minutes previous.
I'm really concerned. For me, whether people want to be in denial about it or not, this club runs to the tune of Gary Sweet. The footballing direction, everything goes through Gary Sweet. He might not be the majority shareholder in the club, but you best believe he is the man who decides what's what. He is the man who was at Jack Wilshere's house before hiring him as manager. Gary Sweet is the man who would regularly go round Rob Edwards' house all the time, from all accounts. Gary Sweet needs to go. I'm very sorry, but it is time. He has got 3 failed managers on the bounce. You can't just keep sacking the managers. At some point, someone's head higher up has to roll.
Yeah.
But the problem is that relies on the majority shareholder making that decision. Do we really think that's going to happen? Genuine question for both of you. I know? I think we're all in agreement on this. I think we've been saying it for a while on here that the problem stems from the top, and I think more recently myself, Ollie, and Stevie, when he's been on as well, have all been in unison about the issue being Gary Sweet and him needing to step down. Do we honestly think that Bantine, who's 85% shares or whatever, is by far the majority shareholder, is going to make that decision?
Well, at the end of the day, if he wants to make money from Power Court being full, he's going to have to do something. Someone's going to have to do something.
That's not how they make their money.
Stuck.
That's not how they make their money.
We're stuck. We're stuck.
Yeah, I think that's the concern, and Ollie's right. That's not how the people involved are going to make their money. That is probably clear, which is fair, I guess, if all of the other things were going fine on the pitch, and if the stadium was being built to spec, then no one would begrudge them making that money. I certainly, for one, wouldn't. That's fine. If you're doing the other part of the job properly, then that's fine. But it's clearly not happening. I just, what we'll probably likely see instead is that as soon as the pressure gets turned on the board, as it's starting to do, as it did at the end of the game, it's similar scenes to what it was against Norwich at home in the Championship. Well, the boards do something to divert attention away. So it's likely that, any more toxicity like that, and Jack goes, and there's maybe a 3 counties interview like there was last time with Gary Sweet after that absolute shocker at Lincoln. But I can't see anything other than that being the response. That's my imagined response. Jack Wilshere goes, Gary Sweet does a 20-minute interview with Simon Oxley, for example. That's what I see happening.
Well, I do hope that everyone likes League One, because we're absolutely going to be here again next season. We are not going to get promoted. We haven't got the form. It's the business end of the season now. Performances are dire. I only really like what I'm seeing from Johnson at the moment. I think that he's such a fantastic young player who's far too good for this team.
Yeah, he'll be gone in the summer. He's far too good, and I hope he makes it right to the top. England international, fair play to him. I hope he makes it to the Premier League. I will be absolutely delighted for him, for reasons.
Yeah, he's too good for us.
Far too good.
And Richard.
Far too good.
And
Here's a question. Here's a question from Callum LTFC. Ollie or Mark or Simon, did you see the Loyal Luton Supporters Club statement? I really hope the Supporters Trust wake up and do similar. Well, dream on.
The same thing.
Yeah, LTST ain't going to be releasing a statement anytime soon. But yes,
I believe I actually sent you that statement over, Ollie. Did I?
You and like 15 people. I'm a member of Loyal Luton. I'm a paid up member. So yeah, I saw it immediately. I'm on the WhatsApp group, and you and like 20 other people sent it to me. I've seen it. Yes, I think it was a bit weak. They're just asking for a meeting with the club, which they'll never get. Bless them.
Yeah, I think. Look, I said the same thing. I reposted it and said your turn, LTST, or something like that. And obviously, I agree with Ollie. It's not going to happen.
Never going to happen.
The thing is, and I know it's a separate entity, and this isn't me having a pop at Kev and the LTST podcast, because I think they do a good job. I think it's a good podcast, and I like to listen to
Kev is one of the most knowledgeable people about sport that you'll ever meet. He knows absolutely everything.
I get on with him. I speak to him occasionally before games, etc. So I've no issue with him. However, what concerns me is that at least for 3 or 4 podcasts running, they've talked about this open invitation with Gary Sweet. Wait a minute. You're the Luton Town Supporters Trust. How is there an open invitation? Surely the LTST should have some power to be able to demand a meeting at some point with this. Not every week, I get it. Happy with the result, we demand a meeting with the CEO. But there are so many unanswered questions from fans from the stadium to the recruitment to the long-term planning of the club, what is going on behind the scenes, that the LTST should have the power to be a bit more than, oh, please come and sit on our podcast for 5 minutes. That in itself should be a concern. That's all I would say.
Absolutely. It's worrying that, that is the case. You people are so openly displeased. It would be such an easy way for the club to communicate with fans directly, but they hate communicating with us. They don't want to talk to us. They'd rather never speak to us at all. They want to be a closed shop. But unfortunately, I think that'll just lead to protests eventually.
Well, it needs to. And my sort of question about does anything change was a bit of a leading one, because I genuinely don't believe that anything will until there's more organised protests. I don't mean like personal attacks on players and staff, etc. And I don't ever condone that at the end of the game. And I don't like to see the scenes that happened at the end. That's not what I mean by protest. Organised protest against the lack of communication from the board, etc. before games.
Like, I reckon
that works.
No one should go to the Plymouth game. No one.
Well, yeah,
like, boycott it.
Yeah, that's exactly it. That's the kind of thing that will get people listening, because the board, it's not just they're not communicating, they are stuck with the idea that this viewpoint that we've all been sharing for weeks is a minority viewpoint. It's a few bad eggs, and those few bad eggs are enough to silence by getting them out of Hatters Heritage or by encouraging people not to listen to their podcast, etc. But unfortunately it is becoming the vast majority of fans. But until there is that concerted effort, I don't think they're going to see that.
Something's got to give, lads. Something has got to give. And it will eventually, because you can't carry on like this, because eventually the rot will sink in even deeper.
Well, shall we orchestrate a complete boycott of the Plymouth game? Because frankly, we shouldn't be in that competition in the first place. We don't deserve to be there, regardless of whether Swindon fielded ineligible players. Like, I think that is something we should not turn up to.
Agreed. I think it's a good way to send a message.
It's peaceful protest, and I feel sorry for everyone that hasn't gone. But essentially, it's a message. It sends a message like, we do not want to tolerate this anymore. And you know what? Let's see how the players play without anyone, with silence.
Agreed. And that is the right way to send a message to the board of a football club. As you said, Mark, sending abuse over to players and getting personal, it's not worth it. It is a game at the end of the day. We love the club. We are the ones who are still going to be here in 10 years' time. A lot of these players will not be here. Some of the board will not be here. Things are ever changing other than us as fans. So we have to represent ourselves in the right way too.
100%. And not just that, but there are kids that go to football. Ollie's hopefully going to take his little boy to football soon. I think you were going to take him the other week and couldn't.
He's too young.
Take my little boy to football.
He's too young.
Same thing. But the one thing that would stop me taking my little boy to football is that, and I get it. I'm not suggesting that we try and sanitize the game, but there is a big difference between, some of the chants, etc., and, saying whatever to players and managers and the like, because it doesn't make it ruins the point anyway that's trying to be made, and the frustration in the fans. It also causes divide in the fans. We all saw the fans fighting each other. I can't remember what away game it was, but it was caught on Sky, wasn't it? The fan lamped another one in the away end. So, this is the problem. Is, as I was trying to allude to earlier, is that we need to be united as a fan base now. All right, there's enough. Let's forget the told you so's and we were here 10 years ago and things could be a lot worse brigade, right? Let's just forget all of that and accept that right now things are not good enough, right? And if you don't accept that, I don't know what you're watching, but for the vast majority of people, they accept that things right now are way, way below basic expectation, and let's do something about it.
Absolutely agreed. And you know what? There's just nothing further I can add because we have all spoke about this so many times. We must sound like a broken record sometimes, but the issues are so obvious, and I just want to be proud of the club I love again, as does every other person who is feeling angry right now. And I don't really know what more I can say.
No, fair enough. You're right. We've been we've been around this sadly far too many times.
Yeah. All right, lads. Have a good evening. I hope you enjoy the rest of your weekend somehow.
Yeah, cheers, Si. We'll do now.
See you
football.
later, guys.
Cheers, mate.
All right,
Thanks.
cheers. Bye bye.
Oh, yeah, lots. Lots of people are agreeing with what we were saying with you, Ollie. Re-Virtue Trophy. This is from Kevin McHugh 6308. Exactly, Ollie. The board keep going on about doing the right thing. To be in it's wrong. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It is wrong that we're in it in the first place. It's ridiculous.
We don't
And the
deserve
worst
it.
thing, but you know, we said this. Well, me, you, and Stevie said this. The worst thing that could happen really is that we win that bloody thing, because it will just be another get out clause, won't it? As you'd said before. You know, Callum LTFC as well. Quite a few people already voting with their feet. I think he said, yeah, we'll be lucky to see above 10k at Kenilworth Road again this season. Absolutely. It was way less than that today. I mean, the Burton obviously are a very small fan base as well. They didn't bring that many, but they count season ticket holders. Yeah, of course. I think this is it. Well, we've seen it dwindle, haven't we? Obviously.
That's why the
in
Virtue
non-league.
is the perfect time to arrange a boycott, because season tickets won't be counted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cup competitions. No, exactly right. Yeah. But as someone else had said, it's only £5 to get in. It'll always mean that some people will go, but I think people will vote with their feet. I mean, no one's going to be particularly interested in watching that after the last week. Simon Wright, my anger peaked with last season's relegation. It's apathy now. Yeah, I'm sort of with you on this. Wasn't even that bothered when they equalised today. No, I wasn't. I wasn't bothered. You're right. I wasn't bothered. Normally, I'd be absolutely gutted. I would conceded in the 92nd minute. I wasn't bothered either. It was absolutely predictable, you know, and kind of, you know, I didn't want us to. I'm not saying I wanted us not to win, but I didn't want us to get away with that performance either. You know, we were so bad, regardless if we'd have scraped a 1-0 win or not. But scraping a 1-0 win would have allowed us to get away with it, and I didn't want that. For me, you know, promotion's gone, so actually the points for me aren't that important anymore. And you know, promotion's no longer on the line. It doesn't matter what other teams do. There were people talking to me earlier about, oh well, Huddersfield are losing. I think they won in the end, but Huddersfield are losing, Reading are drawing, etc. It doesn't matter what other teams are doing. You know, promotion is no longer on the horizon. We're not getting relegated. We're not getting promoted. So now it needs to be about what is the best thing that can happen for next season. Right? What is the best thing? And if the issues that are plainly there get highlighted because we concede in the 92nd minute, then so be it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we could go on for. Oh wow, people. Shall we get one more caller in? What do you reckon?
Yeah, go on then.
Yeah,
go on. We'll be quick 5 minutes.
Go on, quick 5 minutes. Quick fire. Let's get our caller in. We have Tom D. Evening, Tom.
Evening, guys. How are you?
Yeah, doing well, thank you. And yourself?
Loving life.
Oh, I mean, now that I'm not at the football, it's a better. Honestly, today was awful. Just that second half. What makes me laugh is, did you guys? I'm assuming you guys watched Jack Wilshere's interview.
Yes. Listen to it.
He said something. I put this on Twitter. He said something about the second half, saying that the players wanted a second goal. I don't know what game he was watching, because I felt like that second half, we sat back and we did fuck all.
That's exactly what I saw as well.
We have done every single game under Jack Wilshere, right? And we start every second half like that, every single time. Even against we played brilliantly against Bradford, but the start of that second half, before Morris's counter-attack goal, we were terrible.
See, I didn't go. That's the one game I haven't actually gone to in the past couple of months was Bradford at home, so I can't really comment on that. But I have noticed that Jack goes, "Oh, we want to score more goals. We want to score more goals." But on the pitch, it doesn't look like that at all. It looks like we just want to park the bus. We wanted that 1-0 today. As soon as we went 1-0 up, I could tell that we'd gone a bit. We needed to park the bus. That was the team strategy. Park the bus. Wait out this 1-0. He even turned around and said himself in that interview, he contradicted himself. He said, "Oh, sometimes with games like this, you need to just wait it out." And then literally about 2 minutes later, he was like, "Oh yeah, but we wanted another goal." So I mixed messages from Jack there. I just thought it's just so demoralising at the moment. I mean, I'm there at Kenilworth Road. It's just before Longwick came on. And there's this bloke who sits 2 seats in front of me. And he saw Longwick on the sideline and he said to his son, "Oh, he's playing. We're gone." And he left. He actually left. We were like, "Oh, you actually go?" And he's like, "Yeah, I don't want to. This is an awful substitution. I don't understand what Jack Wilshere's doing. I'm gone." And then obviously, what happened 10 minutes later. So...
Yeah. Ironic because you bring on height and defensive stability, and then in the end you get done with a back post header.
He didn't stop the cross. Yeah, because he didn't stop the cross, did he? Because he wasn't actually playing as a centre back, right? He was over there replacing Izzy Jones.
Yeah.
But who actually, by the way, I thought defensively most of the time was pretty good.
Yeah,
could track back.
Who would have thought he was a right back?
Finally played him as a right back. But yeah, I mean, Longwick had his worst game he's had some shockers as well. He's had some decent games and some shockers. I think had his worst game for Luton in probably at all against Wigan. Yeah. You then put him on to try and keep the game at 1-0. Yeah, baffling.
I didn't think for the 10 minutes that he came on, I don't think he had the worst game. There was a couple of times where he actually did block the ball and get it out of play, and you're like, okay, fair enough. But yeah, I think it was a terrible performance today. Good to see Narky well score, but as I said, they were celebrating him score. They put on their Twitter, it's his 5th of the season. For a striker to only have scored 5 goals at this point of the season is just tragic. What they're celebrating that just shows how low the standards have become around the club.
Our top scoring striker, might add, with 5 as well.
Has anyone got more than he does at the moment?
Or is he
outside?
Kadira's got our highest goal scoring tally.
Okay, fair enough. I guess he is.
He's on 10. I think he's on 10. Clark's our second highest.
Yeah, it's just I don't know. I thought, first half we were better than Burton, by marginally. I say because it was like 2 shit teams going against each other. If I'm honest, that second half though, I don't know what they had. They obviously had a better team talk than we did. Because Jack Wilshere. I told the lads, we need to score more. We need to get back more in it. But obviously their team talk worked better because they ended up equalising 1-1. And again, I felt like that second half they were all over us. It wasn't a matter of if they were going to score, but a matter of when. You could just see it coming. I saw 7 minutes on the clock. I don't know where the hell 7 minutes came from, if I'm completely honest. But I was like, yeah, in those 7 minutes they're going to score, and they did.
They took our midfield out of the game, didn't they? Like so many teams have done. I know we've talked about Palmer, but they're pretty much, apart from Savile occasionally mopping stuff up, teams so easily take our entire midfield out of the game, bully them, or just pass it over them. I mean,
that's what happens when you're playing 3 midfielders against 2. Basically.
Yeah, we had this conversation last season about Rob Edwards' ball as well, and that was because it was 5 at the back. But it's not just that, the type of players that they are, then they're going to get out-muscled by big, strong midfielders. We've said this a number of times about players like Walsh and Clark and everybody else before, and it's too easy. Take our best players out of the game.
Again, it's just that second half. I was there, and I think I was just stunned because Burton had a very terrible first half. I thought, they've not shown anything. They've not shown any sort of like fight, any sort of danger, and then that second half for them to come out and to just boss our midfield. You have to say fair play to them. You can blame us being crap, but they obviously turned around and had a little bit of fight towards them. It's just just everything at the club at the moment is going tits up. Just everything. Gary Sweet, he needs to go. I think it is, as you guys said, and as I think everyone said online, it's time for him to step away. He's been the CEO for 18 years or however long. And,
just on about 15. Stephen Brown was the CEO in the early days of the first couple of years. Yeah.
But
that's a long time. Still, like 15, 16 years is a long time to be CEO. Like,
CEO.
what are we, Lumen, for fans of Severance? We Lumen, he's going to be with us until he dies.
I was going to say, I feel like at the moment, the only CEO I can think of who's probably stayed longer in a football club than Gary Sweet is Daniel Levy. But he got sacked, didn't he, in September?
Yeah.
So, I know they might go, oh, well, he's been CEO for 15 years. Will things change? Spurs done it. Don't get me wrong, Spurs aren't a great example. Yeah. Look at where they are. Look how they're doing at the moment. But
they weren't great last season either, to be fair.
They were. They've been awful for ages. But we're not speaking about Spurs here. We need to focus on Luton, and I think Gary Sweet needs to go. Yusuf Sajjad, why we thought he would be a good head of recruitment just baffles me, because wasn't he with a club called Den Bosch?
Den Bosch.
Please correct me.
Yeah.
Den Bosch in the Netherlands, and the 2 years he was there, they finished second bottom consistently. Thankfully for them, there's no relegation between the second tier and the third tier in Dutch football.
They're doing better now, though. They're doing better now. Since he's gone.
It's just how he's managed to have a job for 2 years is just ridiculous. I guess you could partly say there's some players he has recruited, and you can turn around and say, oh, they just didn't work out here. Nordas, for example, as you said, scored against PSV. Ali.
He's made some. He's made some
why
brilliant
haven't
signings.
they worked here?
He's made some brilliant signings. Like, look at how good they are. These players are smashing it.
It's just, but then it goes back. What's happening with our coaches? Wasn't it under Edwards or Bloomfield? Didn't we have goalkeeping coaches train our attacking coaches? I read something like that. I don't know.
Lee Harrison. Lee Harrison. Yeah.
That's confusing. But then why as a CEO or someone who runs a football club would you let that happen in the first place? Why would you turn around and say, okay, we'll have a goalkeeping coach as an attacking coach? I just think I think Gary Sweet's neglecting the club, and he's neglecting the football side of things for the stadium. And the stadium is, if I'm going to be completely honest as a Luton fan, we got to the Premier League with Kenilworth Road. I know, obviously, not a bigger stadium means bigger revenues, but I'd have rather the money been spent on making a very, very good, solid championship team, a very solid foundation going forward, and then just yo-yoing for a couple of years. Doing what Norwich and West Brom used to do, yo-yo for a couple of years, then get the money for the stadium, build the stadium, then with any other money left, give it a good crack.
That was the plan. I
think it's a myth. I think it's a myth. Those two things are mutually exclusive, though. Tom, you can do both. You could have done both. I'm sorry, we didn't spend any money in the Premier League at all. We must be the lowest spenders since clubs like Swindon,
or maybe
the very early Premier League days, right? We didn't spend any money. We had the money to make ourselves consolidate mid-table championship at the very least last season. We didn't, there was absolutely no way that you can say it's because we were building Power Court. I listen, we probably do need Power Court or something along those lines for the football club to survive long term. We don't own our own stadium, etc., etc. We all know that. That's fine.
I do agree, but my point is I would have rather have had that solid, like, again, yo-yoing just even for a couple of years, because it's £200 million each time you get promoted.
Well, it's worth 180 million, but that is
So
over a 3-year period.
Obviously, though, once it's the parachute payments, you don't get the second lot of parachute payments if you go back up again, but then you get all the TV rights. But what I'm trying to say is that I'd have rather have done that for a couple of years, then had because apparently, you know, I don't know what's happening with the finances. I'm not a part of Luton, but a lot of the finances have been siphoned off to Power Court. I don't know the specifics, but if we'd done that, then we'd have enough money for Power Court outright and the residential developments, and we'd have had enough money to focus on the squad and built a good squad, and even, you know, academies and stuff. It's just, I don't know. I think we've financially made a right old cock up of it. We had a golden opportunity, and it's been squandered because Gary Sweet and the board who run the club. It sounds awful as well, but they've still got that small club mentality.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, they're trying to break out of that with the redesigns of Power Court. It's been redesigned 5 or 6 times, and the latest redesign. So essentially, the design that was announced before we got promoted, I think it was published 2 or 3 days before we went to Wembley. That would have been fine. That was a 21,500 seat stadium with the possibility to expand to 25,000. After we got promoted, they decided to redesign it. And with that redesign, it added about 100 mil onto the price, the cost of the builds. And essentially all that money's got to go somewhere, you know, and that's what's happened.
But how big is Brentford's new stadium?
I think 23,000.
Yeah, it's just smaller.
We could have a 21,000 to 23,000 seater stadium and been £100 million financially better off.
Yeah, we shouldn't have bothered changing the development. We should have kept it as it was, but now it's going to be.
Do we need the same designer as Barcelona?
No, it's not the designer. They're the construction company. They are the people that are going to build it.
But at the end of the day, right? Again, as I said, I know 2,000 seats is, you know, financially better in the long term, but I think we would have I don't think we'd be sitting here and like talking about how badly run the club is and stuff. I mean, actually, we probably would, but I think financially, from a point, we could have just kept it at 21,000, 23,000. Had that 100 million, invested in the squad, and again, yo-yoed for a couple of years.
Yeah.
Waited for Power Courts to have been built. With the money then that we had, just go back up to the Prem and just give it a good crack and try and do Brighton and Brentford.
Yeah. No, you're right. You're right. And if we'd done that, we'd be moving into the new stadium in 6 months. If we'd kept the design that we had originally done prior to promotion, it wouldn't have been such an expensive vanity project. Whereas now, you know, the executive lounges and this and that and mega concourses. The design is absolutely fantastic, but it's a Premier League spec stadium. When will we be back in the Premier League? We won't. Whereas we should have just gone. Exactly, we should have gone for the 21,500 and built from there. Because there is no way in hell we are filling a 25,000 seater stadium. No way in hell. We're not filling a 21,500 seater stadium either.
No, I think we'd struggle to fill a 17,000 seater stadium. In fact, we're struggling to fill Kenilworth Road. I mean, what was the attendance? 10.3k today.
Yeah.
Maximum capacity is 11.2.
They still it's 12.2. They must have counted me and my dad today, even though we weren't there.
Yeah, but it didn't look like it was full. I mean, there was loads of people around me that didn't go today. You could see it all around the stadium. Again, doesn't help that there wasn't that many away fans. But if we can't fill that capacity up, how the hell are we going to fill up a 25,000 seater?
We won't.
No, we're not. We're going to be like another MK. We're going to be like another Wigan or Blackburn. You know how they're like doing bad at the moment, and they don't have any fans in their stadiums.
Doing bad. We're be like Blackburn is still in the Championship. It's funny.
Still in the Championship. Yeah. Their attendances are awful.
Oh yeah,
'cause, you know,
48% filled stadium or 38%. Like their stadium is virtually empty.
But I worry that we're going to be a future Blackburn, because obviously around Blackburn you've got big clubs like Liverpool, like bigger clubs like Liverpool, Man United, Man City. You know, Blackburn are a big club, but they're bigger clubs, and that's where that local fan base gets siphoned off to. We're near London. You know, we've got Arsenal, Spurs, Chelsea, West Ham, all these bigger clubs in London. You know, I when I went to school when I was younger,
Peterborough,
no one supported
Cambridge.
Luton. No one supported Luton. Like they all supported the big teams, and it's like, yeah,
Well,
it's just I don't know. I worry about the future of the club and how it's being run at the moment. It's just not good.
I know how you feel. My daughter said to me the other day, "Daddy, why am I the only person that supports Luton in my school?" I was like, "Don't worry, it makes you unique. I was the only person that supported Luton in my school as well."
yeah, same.
Yeah. It's very character building.
To be fair, I went to school in Norfolk, so it would have been a bit weird if there was anyone else about
Yeah, but it's just, again, we're losing young supporters to these big clubs because the Premier League's got the big money. We're never.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Thank you very much, Tom. Appreciate you coming on, mate. And come back on. Feel free to join us again. Oh, mate. I'd love to do one of these after winning a game. It feels like we only lose games though. So yeah. Okay, well, when we win a game, come on then. We normally do these Sunday night, 9 o'clock. But have a good evening and a good weekend, mate. Take care. All right. Bye. Right. That's probably a perfect time to wrap up, isn't it? Thank you to everyone that listened. This bumper edition, we were going for an hour and a half, weren't we? It was a good one. And yeah, it was a proper event session. Thank you, everyone, for watching live, and thank you to everyone that commented. Thank you to everyone that's watching this back. And thank you to everyone that's listening on Apple and Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts. But everyone, take care. It's good to talk. Most importantly, come on, you Hatters.